This is Mary. Welcome to the IHC Craft Room.
In today's video, I'm going to show you how I made this Valentine's Day door hanger. I'll show you all the materials and all the steps. So grab all your things and let's get crafty. For materials, we'll be using a 12-inch round wood door hanger. I got this at Dollar Tree. Some transfer tape, some white permanent vinyl and red permanent vinyl, 2.5-inch wired ribbon. I picked up the red velvet from Costco and the red heart from Dollarama, and some black chalk paint. I picked this up at Walmart, and one pipe cleaner. For tools, I'll be using my Cricut machine, so that will require a Cricut mat, my BFF, the glue gun, a brayer, a pair of scissors, a paintbrush, a scraper, my weeding tool, some tweezers, and a knife. Let's start with a base coat of paint. I'm just going to take the string out first and then shake my paint and elevate this wood round so that I don't paint my table accidentally, and give this a thin layer of paint. I ended up doing 2 coats of paint here, and I would also recommend doing a coat of varnish to seal the paint before you do anything else. While we're waiting for that to dry, let's head over to Canva and start working on the design. I'm going to create a design using an Instagram square post setting, and I'm going to start by adding a text box and typing in the word hello. And I'm going to change that font to one called Jitsy, I think. It's spelled Gistesy. And I'm going to add a second text box and type in the word Valentine. I like the default font Canva has, so I'm going to leave that. And now I'm just going to expand this and reposition it so that it really fits the space and make sure it's centered. I'd like to add a couple of elements between the words hello and Valentine to add a little bit of extra interest. So I'm going to look for a heart shape that blows my hair back. And this one has thrown my hair right back behind my shoulders. So I'm going to use that one. And then I'm going to add a line graphic to flank a trio of hearts. And I'm just going to keep repositioning and resizing them and duplicating and deleting and messing with them until I have them in the exact place and style that I want them to be. And I'm just going to keep monkeying with them until my little heart says, Brava Maria, and then I'll stop. And then next I'm going to work on the line that I'd like on either side of these hearts. I want to make sure that the edges are rounded, and keeping in mind that I'm going to be cutting this out on my Cricut machine, I don't want this line to be too thin because it'll just be a complete nightmare to work with after I've cut it out of the vinyl. And now that that part's done, I'm going to come back to the hello and just expand it and make it as big as possible so that it really fits the space. And of course, I'm going to continue centering it. And then once I'm happy with it, it'll be time to download this design. But first, I'm going to make sure to rename the file to Hello Valentine. And then the important thing here is to make sure that you click the transparent background and then you download it as a PNG file. The transparent background is a premium feature in Canva, so if you're not a premium member of Canva, this isn't going to work. Now, I can't afford memberships for everything under the sun. I don't know about you. So I decided to spring for Canva because it's so versatile and I can use it for a ton of different things, whereas paying for premium versions of Cricut Design Space, for example, only applies to Cricut-related projects, and I don't do enough of those to make it worth it for me. Now that we're in Design Space, I'm just going to go to Upload and find the file that we just downloaded from Canva. I'm going to select Moderately Complex for the image. And now you'll see that Cricut Design Space also offers a background remover option, but again, it seems to be a premium members feature here too. Since I'm going to be cutting my sign on vinyl, I'm going to select Cut Image and Upload. And now I'll just select the image and add it to my canvas. The trick to making sure your design will fit on the door hanger is to add a circle shape to Design Space that's the exact size of the door hanger. In this case, even though it's supposed to be a 12-inch round, it's actually 11 3/4 inches. So I'm going to make a circle that is that size and position this image until I'm happy with where it is. Because I'm going to be adding a bow to the top of this door hanger, I'm going to make sure that this sign sits as low on the wood round as possible. Since I really want these hearts to be red, I'm going to need to introduce some additional hearts into this design, because if not, Cricut will just cut it all out in white vinyl and it won't allow me to add another color of vinyl while it's cutting. I'm going to get a basic heart shape and try to mimic the size that I created in Canva and make sure that my hearts are a different color so that when I go to cut this design, Cricut knows that I want to use 2 different colors of vinyl and will allow me to cut them separately. Design Space has a lot of heart options, but I like this one. I like the fact that it's not perfect and it's already red, so it saves me a step. I'm going to continue to resize it and adjust it until it pretty much is identical to the hearts that I put in my original design. And then I'll create a couple of little guys to flank it. Now that we have our hearts ready, it's time to hit the make button. You can see that the Cricut divided this into two different mats, one that's black and one that's red. And I'm going to go to that red mat real quick and adjust the hearts so that they're positioned exactly the way I want them to be on the door hanger. This way, when I transfer them over into the design, it'll be a lot easier to do. I won't have to reposition them one by one. They'll already be in the position I want them to be. Okay, it looks like we're ready to party. Let's get our vinyl ready to cut. I put the vinyl down on my mat and used my burnishing tool to really push it down so that it would stick to the mat. But unfortunately, my mat just isn't sticky enough, and it was immediately evident to me that this was going to be a problem. And you'll see when I pull the mat out again that there is a wrinkle in the vinyl on the top right corner. Luckily, it didn't impact my design, but I'm definitely going to need to clean my mat and see if I can get it to be stickier. It is an old mat though, so cross your fingers, it might end up needing to be replaced. All right, let's get that red vinyl down on the mat. I'm going to use the burnishing tool again to make sure it sticks down and cut out those hearts. It's time to start weeding our design, so I'm going to put it back on the mat to hold it steady. Now, I got so freaked out by this whole wrinkle in the vinyl thing that I started thinking, hey Mary, you're a millionaire. Let's waste some vinyl. And I didn't cut out the extra vinyl that wasn't used to save it for another time. Hey Mary from the past, smarten up. Ain't nobody got money for that. When you're weeding a piece of vinyl this big, you really have to take your time and go slow because that vinyl is super sticky and it will quickly stick to itself and to parts of the design you don't want it stuck to. So take your time. Speaking from experience, nobody has enough alcohol for that. Okay, well, things got a little bit dicey there, but I managed to get the vinyl off without ripping parts of the design apart. So now I'm just going to go and start taking the little pieces of vinyl out of the lettering to make sure that everything is cleaned out and ready to go. It's time for some transfer tape, and it looks like Mary from the past finally realized she wasn't rich at this point and started cutting to the appropriate size. And I'm just going to make sure that that transfer tape sticks really well to the design, assuming I can actually ever peel it off its backing, that is. I'll use my scraper to make sure it's stuck really well to the vinyl. I'm just going to take it off the mat now and flip it upside down and start taking the backing off of the vinyl slowly, making sure that the vinyl stays stuck to the transfer tape. Now remember, this part of the vinyl is the sticky side, so be careful not to get it stuck anywhere unintended. You can see here that the hearts didn't want to separate from the backing, and after a minute I realized that was very lucky for me because it saved me a step. But keep in mind that this is all very sped up and I went super duper slow, and so should you. Now it's time to add the hearts to the transfer tape. I'm going to weed them quickly and then position them on the transfer tape in the exact right spot and get that backing off. Before we go any further, I'm going to save this bit of vinyl where the hearts were cut out from because this could be a really good stencil for a future project. Next, I'm going to take the transfer tape off of the cutting mat because it's time to apply it to our wood round. There's something I forgot to mention earlier, which is if you are ever in a situation like this and you're trying to position a vinyl transfer down, but you want to keep monkeying around with it a little bit to make sure you get it in the right spot, then as always, parchment paper is your BFF because it will allow you to place a part of the design down and still move it around until you're ready to commit to the position. And then once you're sure, just slide that parchment paper out and lay down your design in the perfect spot. I'm going to use my scraper to really make sure that that vinyl is adhering to the wood round. And when I'm ready, I'll start pulling back the transfer tape. You're going to notice that I don't pull the transfer tape straight up. I actually fold it back and keep it as close to the wood round as possible. I'm just slowly pulling it back a little bit at a time. You don't want to go too fast because you might actually pull the letters up, which is the exact opposite of what we're trying to achieve here. Now for the last touch, it's time to make our bow. We're going to need our ribbon, a pair of scissors, a pipe cleaner, and a third hand. Oh, don't have a third hand? Yeah, me either. Well, we're screwed. Let's see if we can make this bow anyway. Both of these ribbons have a good side and a bad side. So I'll have to keep track of that and make sure that the good side is always facing down. I know that this heart ribbon is unfortunately pretty mangled, and honestly, I'm not impressed because I'm losing a sizable chunk of ribbon from this roll. Dollarama, you have disappointed me, and I will not get over it quickly. Okay, let's focus on the ribbon. We're going to start by lining the two ribbons up together, making sure that the good side is facing down. And we're going to start by making a small loop on the left-hand side. And we'll follow that up with another loop on the right-hand side that's roughly the same size. There you go. We just started our bow. Remember, we talked about a good side, bad side on this ribbon. So in order to keep that good side always facing forward, what you're going to be doing is scrunch and twist our ribbon so that we can flip it over and have that good side out. That's what we're going to be doing at the center every time we cross over to another loop. Since we've already established that I don't have a third hand, I'm going to use my scissors to keep the ribbon in place. To make our next loop a little bit bigger than the ones in front, I'm going to use 1 finger width as a measuring point and bring that ribbon over to the center again. And say it with me, we're going to scrunch and twist and do the same with the next one. And we're going to continue to repeat this process for each loop. I don't know if these ribbons had like a bet going with each other to see which one could tick me off more than the other. I'm not sure, but both of them were being a little bit too difficult if you ask me. The amount of time I spent trying to smooth these out and get them to settle down and be flat is a bit more than I'd like. Thank you so much. Okay, now that I got that off my chest, let's focus on the bow. Let's see how many loops it took before it occurred to me that I could just twist both ribbons at the same time. Ugh, Mary, sometimes, I don't know about you, man. I really don't. Seriously, look how much easier it is to twist them together and look how they stay in place. And adding that finger width space too, I'm telling you, I don't even know what to say. Anywho, I'm gonna make one more large loop on either side using a finger width for each before we call it a bow. Honestly, I probably would have done one more loop if I had more of the heart ribbon, but we all know what happened with that, and I have to reserve at least a little bit to add a tail to my bow. No, I'm not bitter. I don't know about you. I'm super not bitter. I'm a little bitter. Okay, we made it to the last loop. So now it's time to scrunch up the center and use a pipe cleaner to bind it all together and make sure that we don't lose track of any of our loops before we cut off that last bit of ribbon. A couple of good twists will do it, but I have a certain twist paranoia and I over twist my pipe cleaners. Please don't judge me. In fact, just let's not talk about it. I was really hoping to use a little bit of that mangled ribbon to add to the tail, but it's really just too far gone and I absolutely can't use it. So I'm just going to use 1 piece of the heart ribbon and 2 pieces of the red velvet ribbon. If you've watched any of my other wreath making videos, you'll know that I love me a dovetail finish on a ribbon. I just feel like it makes it just seem polished and complete. But you can totally skip this part if you prefer to be unpolished and incomplete. I mean, that's your prerogative. Who am I to judge? But to dovetail the ribbon, all you're going to do is fold it over and cut it at an angle. And you can make it a deep angle or a shallow angle, whatever pleases your little soul. Just do you, boo. I'm going to line up all 3 pieces of ribbon, scrunch them in the center and bend them at the center and use the pipe cleaner to secure it to our bow. Now be smarter than me here and make sure the good side of the ribbon is facing down like the rest of your bow, or you'll have to untwist and retwist your pipe cleaners. A tragedy if ever there was one. Now comes the part I look forward to every time I make a bow. It's time to fluff, and I'm going to try to control myself here because I get a little too excited when I'm talking about fluffing bows. And it's honestly a little pathetic. But I'm okay with that. I'm like super okay with it. So we're going to go and keep fluffing. Fluff, fluff, fluff. Oh my God, I love to fluff. Okay, calm down, Mary. Love some more. Okay. Fluff, 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 fluff. Okay, I'm trying to stay calm. A little bit more fluffing. Okay, like tell me this doesn't look amazing. It looks amazing. Okay, it's time to put it all together and complete our Hello Valentine door hanger. First, let's add that string back onto our wood round so that it's ready to hang as soon as we glue the bow down. I'm going to cut the pipe cleaner off now, but I have to indulge my twist obsession just a touch more before I'm willing to do that. Let's glue that bow down, shall we? A good dollop of hot glue will do nicely, and we have the added bonus that my fingers are nowhere near the glue. What a refreshing change, using a glue gun without needing polysporin afterwards. Once you feel the bow is secure, we're going to give the bow a final fluff and make sure the tails are behaving themselves before the final reveal. We need to make sure that she looks as pretty as possible before she makes her debut. Well, hello, Valentine. Such a fun and eye-catching way to welcome people into your home. Thank you for joining me on this love-tinged door hanger adventure. Share your thoughts in the comments below and remember to subscribe to my channel so that we can continue to get crafty together. Toodaloo!